I always thought the baby's babbling was just nonsense, until the day the snake crawled from the shadows and my dog bowed its head in silent obedience. When I crept to the doorway to see what had captivated my baby, I expected to find him dozing off, maybe reaching for the mobile above his crib. But instead, he was sitting bolt upright, his small hands gripping the rails, eyes impossibly wide in the dim glow of the nightlight. He didn't blink. He didn't look away. He just stared into the darkness below. At first, I thought my tired mind was imagining it, but then I saw the shape, a sinuous, glistening body coiling itself tighter beneath the crib. The snake was massive, dark as spilled oil, its scales catching the light like wet obsidian. Its tongue flickered out in silent tasting, and it seemed to gnaw with every soft babble that left my son's lips. The sound he made was nothing like baby talk. Each syllable was threaded with a hiss, a careful rise and fall in pitch that made my skin crawl. He spoke in a rhythm, a measured incantation, almost musical. The snake responded, its head lifting higher, eyes fixed on him with unsettling intelligence. Then came the worst part. From behind me, I heard Rex, my golden retriever, whine low in his throat. I turned and saw him inching forward, belly pressed to the floor, tail curled between his legs. He should have barked or tried to defend us, but instead, he moved like a servant called to duty. Every time the baby uttered a new string of sounds, Rex crept closer to the crib, his body trembling with a fear I could feel in my own chest. I want to call out, to break whatever hold this bizarre tableau had over them, but the moment I opened my mouth, my baby's head jerked up, his gaze locked on me. For a breathless second, I was sure I saw something ancient peering out from his innocent face. My voice died in my throat. The snake's body shifted, scales whispering against the wood floor, and Rex laid his head between his paws as if awaiting permission to move again. My baby turned back to the serpent, resuming the low, serpentine song. And as the snake slowly uncoiled, inching toward the edge of the crib, I knew this was only the first of many conversations I was never meant to hear the second night. I told myself I wouldn't watch. I tried to believe that if I didn't see it, it would stop happening, that somehow my baby would forget how to make those sounds, and the snake would slither back into whatever hole it crawled from. But curiosity, or maybe fear, won out. I left the bedroom door crack just wide enough to see inside. My baby was already sitting up, waiting. The snake emerged from the dark corner near the dresser, its scales brushing across the wooden floor like dry leaves. As soon as it appeared, Rex crawled out from under the bed. He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He simply pressed himself flat against the floor, as if weighed down by some invisible hand. My baby began again. The sounds were softer this time, a series of breathy clicks and delicate hisses that made my teeth ache just to hear them. The snake lifted its head, tongue flickering, and I realized that every time my baby paused, the snake responded with its own low rasp. It was a conversation, a language. Rex inched forward, his body shaking all over. He stopped just short of the crib and laid his head on the floor. He looked up at the baby the way he used to look at me when he needed reassurance, but now there was no recognition in his eyes, only submission. I forced myself to step into the room, hoping my presence would break the trance. But the instant my foot crossed the threshold, my baby fell silent. The snake froze, unblinking. Rex did not move. My baby turned his face toward me, expression flat and unfeeling. He didn't cry or smile. He only watched, as if weighing something in his mind. For a moment, I wonder if he even recognized me as his mother. Then, without looking away, he raised one hand and made a tiny, curling gesture. The snake sank back into its coils, lowering its head to the floor. Rex lay completely still, his breathing shallow. When I stepped back out of the room, the ritual resumed as if I had never interrupted it. The baby's voice, the snake's answering rasp, and Rex's shuddering obedience wove together into something ancient and impenetrable. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the door listening and realized with sick certainty that this had happened before, and it would keep happening until something finally answered their call by the third night. I felt like an intruder in my own home. The air itself seemed charged, heavy with something I couldn't name. I had tried to convince myself that this was all a nightmare, a string of hallucinations brought on by exhaustion, but the dread sitting in my chest told me it was all real. That evening, I decided to do what any rational person would. I recorded it. I set my phone just inside the nursery door, propped against the wall, the camera pointed at the crib. I thought that if I captured the sounds, maybe an expert, someone who studied animal behavior or ancient languages, could explain it all away. I hid in the hallway and waited. The moment the light dimmed, the snake returned, gliding across the floor with silent purpose. Rex followed, each step hesitant but unstoppable. My baby was already waiting, hands folded neatly in his lap, like a child preparing to recite a prayer. He began to speak. At first, it was the same hush of hisses and clicks. But then, something changed. Beneath his childish voice, I heard another tone, low and resonant, vibrating to the floorboards and into my bones. It sounded older than words, more like a presence in a language. My phone recorded every syllable. I don't know why I pressed play right there in the hallway. Some part of me couldn't help it. I needed proof of the madness. The second the recording played back, Rex stiffened. His eyes snapped open, and he fixed them on me with a look I had never seen. Something like grief, or regret, or apology. Then he growled, lips peeling back from his teeth. The snake uncoiled in a smooth, deliberate motion, rising until its head was level with the crib. My baby smiled, the kind of soft, trusting smile that used to melt my heart. But now it felt like mockery. Rex lunged at me, jaws snapping shut inches from my leg. The snake began to sway, the tip of its tail tracing symbols on the floor. My baby reached out with both hands, palms upturned, as if offering a gift or a command I couldn't understand. I realized then that this was never about curiosity or play. It was a ritual, one that had finally reached its conclusion. And in that moment, with the snake's eyes locked on mine and Rex ready to attack, I knew I was no longer the one in charge of this house. Even the smallest voices can awaken ancient forces we do not understand. When we ignore the signs, when we pretend the unnatural is just imagination, we risk surrendering control over everything we hold dear. Some languages were never meant for human ears, and some connections should remain unspoken.